Do you think UFOs, the paranormal, weird history, cryptozoology, and outsider art are pretty darn cool? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to High Strangeness with your host, Steve Berg.
The video version. Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of High Strangeness. Today, I have my two friends. My gosh, look at me, just look at a little scramble. Dash, and I'm probably going to mispronounce your name too. Kwiatkowski. No.
Try it again.
I'll say it. No, we're not going to make you do it over
Everyone's going to say their own name today. Okay, so I have my two friends on, and go, Dash.
My name is Dash Kwiatkowski. And
yeah.
Am I saying things about myself or just my name?
No, just your name. Then we're gonna get into about you. And then my other friend, Rosa.
Escandón. Hi, I'm Rosa Escandón. I'm also here.
I kind of like doing this. Actually, going forward, I think I'm gonna have people announce their own name. I think that's kind of fun.
It's kind of a cool hack. I gotta say, in the lead up to part the curtain a little bit.
Yeah. Breaking the fourth wall a little bit.
Breaking the fourth wall. Steve, as you were asking Rosa about her last name, and I was like, the whole time I was like, either you are very confident about mine, or it's
gonna train wreck in real time.
Or it's gonna. Now, my favorite version of this that's happened 1 million years ago. Several lifetimes and genders in the past used to do stand-up comedy, and that is how I met Rosa. But many years ago, I was doing this show in LA, and it was being recorded, and the producer sat us all down before the show and was like, just do material, no crowd work. If something weird happens, don't even acknowledge it. Don't say any, just do your jokes. And I was like, okay. Hey, you know what? I love to be told I did a good job, and so I will follow these instructions exactly. And so I'm watching everyone. Oh, he was like, don't even say, how's it going? Don't even say anything. Like, just go straight into jokes. And I was like, okay, great, yeah. And I'm watching everyone get up and say, like, hey, how you doing, everybody? And I'm like, everyone else is going to get a bad grade at comedy except for me. I'm the one who's going to do a good job, because that's how my brain works. And so everyone's having their sets, and I'm next, and the host is like, all right, give it up for Dash. And I was like, it doesn't matter. I'll just get up and get into it. And the host is like, no. Wait, I'm going to get this right. And then this man spends, I'm going to say 1 minute and 15 seconds saying different variations on my last name. Just trying for like 1.5 minutes.
Just going for
before
it.
Being like, whatever, and bringing me up. And I got up, and here's the thing about what just happened on stage. It was wild. It was wild and unexplainable, but I was told, don't acknowledge anything that happened, just go into jokes. And so I just go into jokes. Guess what? Bad set. Doesn't work, because the crowd is like, no, what the hell just happened?
You need to address what happened prior.
You have to address the really wild thing where a man got up and said nonsense noises for 1 minute and 15 seconds before calling me to the stage. And so I got off, and the producer was like, dang, why don't you talk about that? And I was like, you told me not to. And anyway, had a bad set. And I thought that's my favorite version of it.
I think, anytime I've done enough stand-up comedy to where if they all of a sudden there's rules put upon things, I'm like, well, I'm screwed. Because already, then the anxiety, then I'll forget my material. I'll be like, now I have no material. I don't, also, if this is for a taping, they can edit around.
Yeah, it's about edit out the part where you go, hey, what the hell was that?
Right? Yeah. I mean, first off, the first, not rule, but, the first thing with any kind of comedic performance is, get the audience on your side.
Yeah.
If you if you're pretending they're not there and just start rolling into material, I feel like they'll be like, whoa, no, hello, how are you doing tonight?
I have to say, that's crazy, because people used to mispronounce my name all the time to come up. Actually, when I first started doing, performance-based anything, people were like, have you tried changing your last name to something more? Because a lot of people would bring me up as Escalante.
All right, sure.
A lot of extra letters.
Yeah,
but one guy once was like, why don't you just change your name to Rosa Rodriguez? Like, just like a name everyone knows how to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know a lot of people probably are listening to this in podcast form. My family's from Spain. I am very, very white. If you can't see me now, the idea that I would do this, I think would have got me canceled.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, my name is Rosa Rodriguez, and that is a stage name.
Right. Yeah, sure it is. You look like a Smith to me.
I look like an O'Connor is what I'll do.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rosa, you do look a little bit like an O'Connor, huh?
Well, I mean, in case in point, I mean, there was an Italian tennis player in the U.S. Open Finals, and his last name is Sinner, and he is full-on Italian, but he's Northern Italian, and so he looks like he could be from, like, San Diego. You know, he doesn't look like the typical Italian people. We're getting into dangerous territory. But all I'm saying is, like, hey,
yeah, tell us
folks,
more about what you think about typical Italian people.
I'm just sitting there, well, the announcer started talking, like, you never think this guy's from Italy, because he looks like an Irish, like, he's got, like, like, black. I'm like, oh, boy. And it was pretty funny yesterday.
Okay.
Well, look. The comedy, last names, it's all difficult. There's no rules, though. I don't like rules in art. Period is. I feel like some constraints can be good because then it can focus you down, and especially like. However, I don't think rules are great. I don't think formulas always work for people. There's people who formula doesn't work, and I'm kind of one of them. But I digress.
Well, the opening of your podcast.
What'd you say? Is this my opening every time? Yeah, I usually do a type 5 about the world of stand-up comedy and last names and stuff. This is pretty typical. Yeah.
Type 5 about last names and stand-up comedy and what I think Italian people are like.
Yeah,
exactly. You know how Italian people are like?
Hello, Italian people. Well, folks, I am a big fan of the show Liminal. And Dash was on, maybe about a year ago. And when it was I think like the first episode was just being released, right? It was early on.
We were just self-releasing the first episode on YouTube, which has been our platform.
Mm-hmm.
And now, is that a drum roll, Rosa?
Yeah, I'm drum roll.
A silent drum roll.
Yeah. Just for the watchers. This is secret. This is DLC for the podcast.
Yeah, it is.
But we are about to our show. The first 3 episodes that we've got, our 2-part pilot, as well as our episode with Ray Wise from Twin Peaks, will be viewable on TUBI. Very, very exciting for us, as TUBI is my favorite of the streaming services.
Agreed.
I will say. And here's the thing, and nobody can take this away from me. Many people have tried. But because we are on TUBI, I'm saying that we are peers and co-workers with Chef Gordon Ramsay and his Chef-O-Matic universe.
Yeah,
which
the
is all on
Chef-O-Matic
TUBI.
universe is very important to us here at Liminal.
I'm trying very hard to parlay this co-worker and peership into a friendship. I would love to try. A beef Wellington made by the man. I've seen it on television a lot. Would really like to try it. And so, anyone listening, if you got a way, if you can help me become better friends with my coworker, Chef Gordon Ramsay.
Make some calls, everyone. Yeah, there's a lot of listeners who are deeply connected.
Like, throw a risotto at me but on our show.
Yeah.
He has to do it. He has to come to our show to do it.
Right. No, I think that's within the realm of possibility. I would say good. I mean, just being part of the TUBI family kind of, grandfathers you into a Gordon Ramsay guest star situation. I believe that's how it works. And
then from there, let me and Rosa come guest judge on MasterChef Junior. We'll take Junior. I prefer Junior, actually.
Are y'all like ironically fans of Gordon Ramsay, or like
no,
this is genuine and real?
I love MasterChef Junior so much.
Yeah.
We also watch a lot of Next Level Chef when we are together. I don't know if you've seen. This is a pretty deep. My personal favorite deep cut Gordon Ramsay though has to be.
I just want to pause you right quick, Rosa. Hi, listeners of Hi Strangeness. I promise we're going to talk about the ghost stuff in a second, but this is very important.
The first 15 minutes is all getting to know you, Fluffernutter. I love Fluffernutter.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you know about Hotel Hell. This is where
I've heard of
Chef Gordon Ramsay, for some reason, gets in the hotel business, and
He's
It's
in
great.
everything.
It's
He's got
maybe my
fingers in
favorite
everything.
reality show ever made, Hotel Hell.
Really? Is that
Yeah.
on Fox as well?
It's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi now.
Is
it
it
was
Tubi
on Fox
original?
in maybe 2001.
I think it was on Fox in like
I think, when
2001.
this
Yeah.
came
It's old.
It's not new.
Next Level Chef is ongoing. That is currently releasing episodes. And the thing you got to know about Next Level Chef, and I don't even want to say too much more about it, other than it is a cooking reality show competition that is loosely based on an obscure Spanish language horror film called
The
The Platform. Yep.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
The Platform
So-
is about a dystopian prison, and Next Level Chef is about cooking in chef teams, but they do have a lot of similarities.
yes,
What prison isn't dystopian? I'd like to know.
That's so true.
it's true.
My God.
Wow. Thanks, Steve.
Sorry. Whoa, Steve got dark again.
No,
No, I'm here to talk about the real stuff. I'm talking, and I will, prison abolition. Absolutely no prison. Hey, you ever explain this? You ever explain to someone that if someone does a crime and if two people do a crime and one person is arrested for the crime and the other person is not, guess which person is more likely to become a repeat offender? It's the person who got arrested for the crime. So if you wanted to lower crime in general, take all prisons away, less crime. That is a mathematical fact.
You can run on this.
Here we are.
I'd
Well-
vote for you.
well,
I'd vote for you.
in certain,
I think
certain
politics
states-
is next for you.
I sincerely hope not. But
I wouldn't do that to you. Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think I could do politics. Too much. I have too much stuff on the internet. I feel like I would be
Okay, yeah.
immediately taken out.
Yeah.
I have too many weird ideas. I think they would be like,
Okay.
we gotta kill this guy immediately. Like he's trying to redirect half the state's financing to cryptid research. Like
Oh.
I
Yeah.
would like that. I know. You know what? There's states where you could get away with that. I think.
I think so.
I think you could do that in honestly, I think there's 4 states that you could
Yeah.
probably do that.
I think. So.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna look
Any-
into those states and see if they need some kind of state senator because look, I got weird ideas.
Yeah.
we're gonna be on Tubi. The first 3 episodes, very exciting, and then
Hell yeah.
also very soon to come, new episodes that we shot.
Great.
And are currently being edited. They one of them is almost done. The other one is in the works. They're gonna be on Tubi again probably in the next couple of months, which is very exciting for us. It's nice to sort of meet our debut on this platform, and then very soon after the debut bring in some new episodes that nobody has seen. And because I would describe Liminal as the people's
Yeah.
queer and trans ghost show, and that is
I love that.
Tubi is free, and that is the nice thing about being on Tubi.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I like you were saying, singing the praises of Tubi. I have, I pay for a number of streaming services, and I know for a fact that I watch Tubi the most, by far.
Yeah.
Can I swear on this show? Is
of
this
course you can go to town.
okay? Me and my husband our go-to thing about Tubi is we say, "Oh, Tubi's got that shit."
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Tubi's got that shit, and I have to say, I'm proud to be what we would call part of that shit now.
Yeah,
Tubi's
well,
got
it's-
it.
Part of that shit.
And I hope this isn't the. I'm curious about the machinations of how one distributes.
Yes.
So sorry, listeners, if this is boring for you, but I am curious. How does one get a show onto Tubi? Is it
Totally.
because it's not your typical stream platform where it is kind of artist friendly, from what I
Yes.
hear, in terms of you don't have to have a Lionsgate or there's
Totally.
one less gatekeeper to get it on the platform, which I think is amazing.
So for us, we are actually working with a company called Filmworks Global.
Mm-hmm.
They're very cool. They are distributing us to a couple of different platforms.
Great.
That we're going to be able to announce some of the other ones soon-ish.
Great.
But so for us, it was actually a really, really funny thing. I was at a party and I was talking to someone and they're like, something. A friend of mine has this show on Tubi. And I was like, excuse me, how?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do we do that? And so we were given contact information by Filmworks Global. We reached out and we just chatted with the team over there, and they really liked what we had, and so they are just kind of helping us distribute. And I'll pause and I'll say, Steve, if you want to edit this part out, go for it. But if you've got anything, I'm very happy to pass email addresses along to you. If you've had anything you want to reach out to them about.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Thanks. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm super I feel like Tubi, in terms of shows in the same, I guess, genre, I would say. Like, they are finding a home at Tubi. Like, I mean, it definitely, like, when I'm watching, like, a documentary or a documentary series on high strangeness of any kind, Tubi is the place that has it.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of this stuff. I do watch a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I find myself on Tubi for this. I mean, like, you know, the other streaming places, like, I don't think they, I think Tubi is this going to really excel at being a home for independent
absolutely.
creators, you know, so.
And I'm gonna take a this is gonna feel like a pot shot, and maybe it is a little bit, but I'll say, and apologies if actually maybe you probably have friends. It's fine. I just find that a lot of ghost shows on the sort of basically a lot of them are on the Discovery sort of thing, and while I do enjoy some of them very much, I find that a lot of ghost shows that are sort of in the Discovery family of things on Max, all that stuff, are just like very, very, I would say, they're very overproduced for me, at least. For me, in terms of like, we got to get this shot, and there's a network of executives who are telling us that we have to have something scary happen, so we're gonna have a production assistant hide behind a thing. We're gonna play. They're
scripted.
They're scripted. Yeah.
We also don't have, notably, at least not yet, we don't have a rock and roll priest. We don't have a priest who dresses up like he's in a bowling league.
And
so we're actually not legally allowed to be on certain streaming platforms as a ghost show, which is a big issue for us.
With the tattoos of a line cook, and so they won't let us hang out at the after parties.
Yeah, we can't. They're like, listen, we love what you have. Have you tried adding one rock and roll rockabilly priest?
Can you put a baffling amount of Catholicism in your ghost show? Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet. I'm not saying never. I don't want to close. What if we found like the one cool rockabilly priest?
Oh.
I mean, there's probably something out there. However, I think the trope of the hip priest is like a little tired.
I always kind of wonder like how much of a real priest they are, because I can't imagine the Vatican is signing off on rock and roll priest goes on the Discovery Channel. Like I can't imagine.
They probably went online like I did. You know, I'm ordained. You know,
are you ordained?
I am. I've married.
Can you bust ghosts now?
Well, of course. I mean, I look. I don't think I need the certificate to bust ghosts.
Right.
But you know, legally I can because I am ordained. So
now,
yeah.
Can you show us your arms? How many tattoos of a fork or like an American traditional rose do you have?
Do you have a spooky spider web on your elbow to let everyone
the knife and fork. Like you know,
maybe some.
Not
dice?
yet. I haven't hit my line cook phase.
That has a snake biting it anywhere on your body.
Busted. I have two of them.
Oh, okay. Then, hey,
one in each kneecap.
Just looking at each other.
Well, folks, let's pretend none of my listeners. I mean, I know that's not true, but like, let's just pretend.
Yes.
That none of my listeners, our listeners, have ever seen Liminal. Give me like the pitch of like what is the show. What's the angle like? What is like the great hope of what you want to achieve with this project?
So for me, the show is about what I perceive to be the intrinsic connection between queerness and transness, and the strange and the magical. And we get into this idea that paranormal, paraweird things are sort of drawn to liminality, to liminal spaces, and the show is an exploration of what it means to have a liminal identity as you sort of explore the strange and the magical, and that's the sort of the thesis of the show. And then Dash's secret thesis, which is also in there, is it's really important to me, especially right now, especially with the climate the way it is.
I have no idea. What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. Everything's fine, right?
Yeah, it's funny to say the climate as it is, because that could refer to multiple things that are terrible.
Oh, God, right?
It's kind of interesting, too, because you might think we're talking about climate change, and we're not talking about that. However...
Right.
And I'll say my personal beef with climate change is it has a... Well, I'll explain a second. Basically, the Dash's secret thesis is just, it's very important to me to highlight to people on the coasts that the South is full of lots of really cool and interesting and wonderful people.
I love
me,
that.
There's a lot of queer and trans people who live in the South. There's people of color in the South. That it's really easy. I'm from San Francisco. I grew up hearing like, this is what the South is like. This is,
Right.
you know, all of these people are evil and they want you to die and all this stuff. And here's my thing. There's bigots and shitheads everywhere, and
Everywhere.
I've been called faggot on the streets of New York. Honestly, more than I have anywhere else that I've been. And so my whole thing is just, you know, I think that a lot of people who have never experienced the South, or even lots of places in sort of on the continent, lots of places, I think that people, it's really easy to make sweeping judgments and to think that these people are the source of your problems and not, you know, capitalism and billionaires and a system that is designed to marginalize us sort of intrinsically. And frankly, the people who are stuck living in places where all of the political decisions are distinctly against their best interests because of gerrymandering and because of other like unfair things that stop people from actually participating, you know, I'm never going to hold those people responsible for the things being done to them. And so for me, one of the sort of the important things about Liminal is to really highlight, like, hey, there's queer people, there's people of color, and they live in the South, and they're fucking wonderful and magical, and they're people just you know, as I'm again, San Francisco kid. I'm from San Francisco, and I had no idea until I went there, until I actually started touring when I was doing stand-up comedy, and I fell in love with the city of Memphis, and I fell in love with the South. And so I just, you know, that is the sort of the secret thesis underneath the main thesis of queerness and transness. I think are really connected to the magical. And that's the show. In our 2-part pilot, we go to Adams, Tennessee, and we investigate the Bell Witch lore.
Mm-hmm.
We had a really, I think, unexplainable and cool and fantastical time out there. And there's some wild stuff that's been happening that is connected. I forget how much about the Robert Graves stuff I told you last time on the show. But I've got this weird thing. We can get into it a little bit down the line if you want. But I've got this weird thing that's been happening, and it is actually sort of, it has latched on to the show, and so every time we're working on show stuff, it like really balloons, and so it has been happening a lot lately. And then in our 3rd episode, which will also is part of our sort of our debut 3 episodes on TUBI, we investigate. This deviates from the second.
Can I jump in here? Because the
please,
problem is about the 3rd episode. The 3rd episode, you know, once you talk enough about like, hey, you know, the South is this amazing, amazing place that people write off, and then you're like, hey, where does the 3rd episode take place? And we're like, Ray
Los
Wise's
Angeles
house in Pasadena, California.
Yeah,
it's Southern California.
Thank you, Steve. That is Southern California.
It is.
And also, and my whole thing with that is we do sort of stick with the idea of sort of like found family and what family can mean, that I think we approach from a queer lens. But my main thing is that if Ray Wise is like, do you want to paranormal investigate with me? What am I going to say? No? What am I going to say? Oh, sorry, Ray, move to the South. And then, no, of course.
You say yes, always. Because it's Leland Palmer, man.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
It's,
a delightful man who has been a supporter and friend to the queer and trans community since the 80s. He's a very
wonderful
man who also believes a lot of the same paranormal, para-weird stuff that I get down on,
which is interesting, and that is revealed in that episode, which is fantastic. You sent me that episode, like a little preview episode.
I did.
So I'm such a Twin Peaks junkie. I loved it too. It's amazing. Did not disappoint. But you know, it's I have like a lot of questions based on what you just said. I do want to like explore. I love the concept of, and forgive me if I phrase this the wrong way, but like being liminal as a personality.
Yes, definitely.
Right? That to me is really wildly unique. And also, I will say something I have never thought about in my entire life until I watched your show. Was that before y'all started shooting the show, something you wanted to explore? Or is that something that kind of organically came out as you were shooting? Like, whoa, wait, hold on.
I think the more, so I sort of my path through like para weird stuff has been, I've always really liked it. I've always really liked consuming the media. I've always, you know, I think all of us at some point watch some terrible ghost show and are like, this looks fun though. It looks kind of fun.
Yeah, it does.
And so I've always just really enjoyed it. And I think, you know, as I was as I was quitting stand-up comedy, as I was making the decision that the industry just made me too sad to want to do a fun thing that I love.
I hear
The industry
ya.
itself bummed me out too much, and I could no longer sort of do this fun thing that I love. And I was thinking, like, well, what do you do? What do you do after you spend a decade? What do you do after you spend a decade building a career and trying to, touring all over and all this stuff? And you think, maybe it's time to find something with a little bit more, that's a little bit more secure, that's a little bit more reliable and financially smart to do. And so ghost hunting is the
I mean, that's the logical next step after most stand-ups when they retire go into ghost hunting. I mean,
yeah, first episode, we tried to find a witch. So
it's true.
Think about that.
It's true. Not
witch
even
hunting.
Well, I mean, not a poltergeist then. It's I kind of think, sort of an ancient sort of nature-y being is my read on what the thing that people call the Bell Witch. But all that to say, as I started getting, as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I started watching some more ghost stuff, and that got me reading books, and I started reading a lot more, just sort of like weird books. And I was reading, I picked up Tenny's book, and I was just reading just a lot of different things. And liminality kept coming up. Liminality just kept coming up in such a way that also is sort of tying into little synchronicities with my life, just as I would go. And it really felt like, I think a thing, and this is actually, to tie this back to Twin Peaks, I've actually just been doing a rewatch of Twin Peaks because I've been.
It all goes back to Twin Peaks.
It all ties back to Twin Peaks. I've been introducing it to a partner of mine, and one of the things that I think Lynch captures really well in Twin Peaks is this idea, the way that Coop investigates this idea that when you are intending to investigate something and when you're putting the effort out, you don't necessarily know the methodology, but if you are working towards something, you will receive answers and things will pop up that sort of connect to the mystery of what you're doing. And
I feel like, Dash, we should have said this on the show. It would have made that episode where we go to Ray Wise's house make a lot more sense.
You could add some voiceover at some point.
Yeah. We're gonna do an addendum in episode 6, I guess.
We get Ray on the phone, and we're like, "Hey, Ray, have you considered?"
We're gonna release a director's cut or a DVD commentary style.
Why not?
But yeah, I think
maybe on the Patreon. Maybe we'll do that on the Patreon.
Yeah, you should.
When we start a Patreon.
But yeah,
I think that for me, as I was thinking about liminality, as I was reading, and the word just kept coming up. It just kept coming up in shows, it kept coming up in books, it kept coming up just all over the place.
Right.
And I think so part of the sort of the genesis of this show was me thinking like, oh, this feels like it's connecting. I feel like I'm getting responses just sort of like from the high strangeness in general. I feel like I'm getting responses from the phenomena or whatever you want to call it. And so it felt very correct to sort of take a swing at, introducing these concepts as a show, as like the sort of the thesis of a show.
Right. Well, it's true because you're so right about liminality is kind of like one of these terms that I feel like sort of like was generated from George Hansen's book, The Trickster and the Paranormal, is kind of the first place I started hearing the word liminality thrown around and really explained to me in the context of the para-weird, right?
Yeah.
But in the last decade, it is a word that and a concept that people are really paying attention to. And there's something there, like there are liminal motifs that pop up in ufology, cryptid research, the occult, ghosty stuff. So it's hard to deny. And it is nice that I think people are, going after the liminal concept. And your show, I mean, being called Liminal, does that really well. Where it's like that is where it's like liminal places and liminal ideas and liminal concepts are kind of like, it feels like the guiding light for the show.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely how it feels. Even like, I mean, we in our pilot episode, in our 2-part pilot, we in the first half we do a Estes method investigation at a theater.
Mhm.
In that theater space, we engage with something that Rosa and I have taken to calling gay director ghost.
The gay director
Um,
ghost.
And I have since then, I've really thought about how that sort of energy of direction, that energy of being directed, to me feels like it took something, because we're out shooting this thing. We don't know what we're doing. We're just some ding dongs with a camera doing our
Right.
best. And so it took something that, if I'm being completely honest, to part the curtain a little bit more, we probably could have prepared a little better for. And it took that, and to me, if you've seen the show, listener, you'll know that there are a series of synchronicities that happen in the sort of the second half, and the second half of the pilot, that really sort of string a narrative through that frankly surprised the hell out of me as it was happening. That really took me by surprise, in terms of being like just even like a video game fetch quest of like, you need these 3 magical objects to do a spell at the end. But we were able to do that, and to me it really felt like we're opening up this investigation, and we are being immediately pointed to a path with trail markers created by magic or the universe or whatever, but in such a way that's like, hey, here's a narrative for your TV show. Here is a plot to follow, so that this is a watchable thing. And to me, that, I think, filming that pilot and having that experience, to me, was such a like, oh yeah, this is correct. This is a right thing for me to be doing. This is a right thing for me to be working on. It was so meaningful to me that all of that plot stuff culminates in us being, I will say, escorted from the woods by a pair of copperhead snakes. But it was
that scene scares me.
so meaningful to me that I actually got a big copperhead snake tattooed on my arm, just because
I love that.
It felt like such a like connection from who knows. I will say the Robert Graves thing. Rosa knows what I'm about to say. Hey Rosa, guess what just happened?
Did you just get a Robert Graves call?
Just got a Robert Graves call. Should I explain? Now feels like a good time.
You've said it twice. If you say it one more time, you're gonna Beetlejuice it.
If I say it one more time, Robert Graves will show up.
Is Robert like Robert
Yes.
Bob or no? Okay, I thought it was Robert's grave for a second.
Oh no, Robert.
We have a Robert's grave in
the
Nebraska.
name of a man.
Ah.
Yeah, like Robert. Yeah, Bob Graves. If you're buddies with them.
It's a spooky name. So let's just get that out of the way. Robert Graves is a sort of a spooky, scary sounding name. Now, I will say, I'm gonna say something like, at this point it's between 10 and 15 years, and I'm so bad at this. I gotta say, I've been saying I'm 10 years sober probably for like 3 or 4 years, so I'm so bad. Anything past 10 years, I'm like, about 10 years probably.
One time Dash forgot what age they were for like.
That's true. Hey,
can I say that? Are you embarrassed by that?
Can I say this? Rosa said one time, twice I've done this. twice I've done this.
I was there for one of them, I guess.
Yeah, Rosa was there for one of them, but I have forgotten my age twice.
It's hard.
It's it's tricky. There's a lot of stuff.
A lot of things to remember, in this world. Life.
I will
past
say
30. Who cares?
It doesn't matter. It's like no age is cool to. There's no like milestone age after like 21.
I think 50 is gonna be sick. I'm kind of excited to hit 50. Feels like a damn. You're 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's gonna be kind of sick.
Yeah.
So I will say, for years before I had ever done anything paranormal, years before I bought my first spirit box, years before I did any sort of stuff, I have been getting spam phone calls for asking for the name Robert Graves. Just calls, and up until a point, they're always from the San Francisco Bay Area. So I was like, all right, there's just like some old guy who put my name down on accident instead of his. I never thought about it too much. I was just like, that's kind of funny. That's kind of a scary sounding name, like Jimmy Skeletons or something.
Yeah.
Like Robert Graves. Sure. And so I didn't really think about it. We shoot the pilot. I come back, and I'm talking to someone about the pilot. I'm talking about gods. I'm talking about Dionysus, because that is the god that I feel like I sort of connect with the most. And I don't think Rosa has ever agreed with me or disagreed with me, but I feel like Gay Director Ghost was an extension of Dionysus. That's my own thing.
Oh, interesting.
God of trans people, god of the underdog, god of revelry and performance and theater. This is sort of my take.
That's starting to check out.
It's interesting. I
Also-
personally do think that was we connected to many things. That one felt very deeply human to me. So I'm not. I don't know if I fully understand that take, but
The other thing
I'll
about
let it be,
Dionysus
you
is
know?
Dionysus does occasionally show up in the form of a snake, and so that is also relevant
Yeah.
to me in this whole thing. But so I got back from the thing. I was talking to someone about Dionysus, and they're like, "Oh, you should read this comic book." So I picked it up. It's this comic book about gods and mortals and all this stuff. And then in the second trade paperback, a character says something to the effect of, "It was me who inspired the White Goddess. I was the one who met Robert Graves." And I was like, that's weird. And so I hit up the person who recommended the comic, and I was like, "Hey, do you know the name Robert Graves?" And they're like, "Yeah, I wouldn't be a neo-pagan if I didn't." And so I started digging a little bit. Robert Graves was a man who seemingly was a closeted gay man. That's the theory based on a lot of stuff. But he wrote a poem called The White Goddess. And The White Goddess was, I would say, one of the sort of like foundational or cornerstone texts for Western Gardnerian Wicca. So Robert Graves, as a figure, was a historical man. Obviously not the same Robert Graves whose phone calls are trying to reach me.
He's trying to reach you about
I don't know, maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
there's more to this actually. I don't
be
think
a
it's
ghost
the same
call.
Robert Graves because we get a little more from the phone calls.
This one, the phone calls for me, I believe is a person who is alive. And suddenly now this weird thing that has sort of been like a name that has like functionally been haunting me for at least over a decade at this point is now connected to all this stuff. And so the first point where it really like latches onto the show, I was talking to the person who directed our pilot episode. So we had worked with one person who directed our pilot episode, and we're talking on the phone, and he's just like, "Yeah, I keep having the synchronicity," and I'm like, "Wow, tell me about it. Like, what's your sync?" And he's like, "Yeah, people keep mentioning this thing," and he says it, and it is a indigenous folklore from this continent that you are not supposed to say the name of. And so I'm like, "Oh, hey, don't say that." And he's like, "Well, that's what keeps happening. Someone will say it, and I'll ask what is that, and then someone will say, 'Don't say that.'" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, you could like Google it, but." I run down a little bit of what it's all about, and I say, there's a ranch named after it in Utah. I think I say Nevada, but I'm wrong.
You say Nevada, but it is in Utah. Another interesting thing, we are talking about ghost shows. If you are trying to find this, actually, what it is, and you're like, "Oh no, what are they talking about?" The ghost show is named Blank Branch.
Yep.
So
yeah, we know. We can do the math.
We all know what it is.
Yeah.
So, an hour after that phone call, I get a phone call from a Utah area code. And I pick up the phone, and it says, "You are in tax trouble," which is a very easy way to scare me because taxes are... And here's the thing, I've never been in tax trouble. I probably pay too much taxes, but it's still scary because it's scary. And so I get freaked out, and I'm like, "Oh my, like, what about? Like, what did I do?" And they're like, "Well, we need to talk to you about your property in Utah." And I'm like, "I do not own property in Utah." And they're like, "Is this not Robert Graves?" Now, this is the first ever Robert Graves call that comes from a number outside of the San Francisco Bay Area. And it is this Utah number an hour after I explained, "Oh, there's this ranch in Utah." So since then, the main way that it sort of connects to the show is anytime we're doing show stuff, the intensity and the frequency of the Robert Graves calls skyrockets. So like in the lead up to this TUBI release, I've been getting like something like 4 or 5 calls per day. Usually it's one a day, maybe like one every other day. I've been getting 4 or 5 calls per day, literally. And Rosa, I forget if I even told you this, literally, because Rosa is not there for our 4th episode.
Our 3rd. Our 4th. I'm there for the 5th.
Comes in for the 5th. Rosa got sick and could not make it to the 4th episode, which is unfortunate. She was missed very much. Literally, our 4th episode, we investigate with one person. It sort of like is a profile episode on one person. Literally, I'm stepping into their house. I cross the threshold of their house, and and this was in January, I get my first Robert Graves call of the year, literally like the moment I stepped into the house. I pick up the phone, and it doesn't even open with a voice, it opens with like music. It's like fanfare, almost like a da-da-da-da, like welcome back to this shit now. and then I also got another Robert Graves call as we were finishing out the closing ritual of our episode 5. So it was almost like it bookended our shooting experience. So it's been very connected to the show. It's been very connected when we're working on the show. So moments ago, and I've tried talking to the people. Yeah, 10 minutes ago, I got a Robert Graves call, which again, we're talking about the show. We're on the podcast. I've tried talking to the people. I've tried to figure out information. We found a little bit. I'm not going to share that because
I think
I don't
he is
want to dox some
living
man.
person.
Yeah, we don't need to dox anyone. I have one quick question. Do you know? So the Robert Graves who's connected or has have made an impact in the pagan world.
Yeah.
When did he die, or is he still alive?
No, he died. Let me pull up the exact.
Because this is for the pagan. I think this is we're talking about what 1920s, 1930s.
So he was born 1895, died 1985.
85. Okay.
Yeah, he's I think that poem comes from 1926 or something. It's fairly old.
Oh, he died in Spain.
Oh,
lovely.
Where in Spain?
He died in Daya. Part of Spain called Daya. Was 90 years old.
Oh, Gaytown, Spain. Died there. That's sad.
That's I mean, it's really. I don't know. There's many interesting things about that, but it's. First off, it's crazy that one man would get that many phone calls. I get no phone calls. No one calls me at all, unless it's I just get spam calls. That's it.
But these are all spam calls, and they're all asking. Not all of them. Most of them are asking about property. Most of them are asking will you sell your property? Will you sell us your property, Robert Graves? Yeah.
And will you, Robert? Robert Dash?
I'll say times are tough. And if I were somehow allowed to sell Robert Graves' property,
you would do it.
I'd think about it.
Yeah.
I'll consider it.
I mean, we'll go halvesies. Robert, you'll get your taste too.
Yeah.
Well,
Bobby Graves,
who owns some amount of property in Utah.
Well, Rosa, I want to ask you. So, what was your Have you been into this stuff? So you guys met through the stand-up comedy world. You didn't meet through the para weird world. But have you been into the occult and paranormal for a long time, or is it something that you kind of blossomed with your friendship with Dash?
I would say definitely a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B on that one. I grew up having really bizarre psychic dreams. Very often, I would have some people think of them more, I guess, as deja vu moments, but I would have a dream, and then sometime in the next months after that, I would what do you call it? The thing that happened in the dream would happen in real life, and usually these are really, really short snip. They're not. Sometimes people are oh, psychic dreams, you can tell the lottery. It's no, when I was a kid, I had one that I remembered that was literally I was sitting in class. And a guy named Julian raised his hand and got the wrong answer. And, I knew what he was going to say because I was this is, these are not useful a lot of the time. But because of that, many years ago, when me and Dash were still actually doing stand-up comedy, Dash had the idea for a psychic advice podcast. And as someone, and asked me to do it. And I was oh, that's so crazy you asked because of my psychic dreams thing. And they were what?
Yeah, what?
And I was oh yeah, the psychic dreams thing. Maybe it's funny if I'm on a psychic advice podcast, which we still host today. It's called Psychic Friends. If you're looking for podcast recommendations,
Friends is spelled with a Z.
With a Z.
Ooh, that's fun.
But we, so we had done that for a couple of years by the time that Dash had kind of started pitching or Liminal or figuring out the stuff for Liminal. And kind of connecting with who they wanted to be on the team. So because we were already doing a psychic advice podcast and doing some of the psychic the psychic community crosses over with kind of especially neo-pagan stuff, a little bit of Wicca, Santeria. I used to live above a Botanica, so some of the stuff I know is from that side. But because of that, it kind of felt like a natural fit of some of the ooh-woo that was already happening, I think.
Right,
I gotta take umbrage a little bit with what Rosa says here, just a little bit,
Yeah.
because Rosa's pitching this as if the reason I asked Rosa to do my Gay Go show with me is that we already had a psychic advice podcast, and not Rosa is my best friend. And I was trying to. I'm just saying. Oh, my queer best friend who is a weirdo who makes all my shit with me. Yeah, obviously. Now, related to the Rosa living above a Santeria, and this is we're putting a call out, and you can reach out to us on social media. You can reach out to us anywhere. There is. At every Santeria, they sell little ointment bottles.
They mean Botanica.
Little oils.
It is a
Botanica.
It's a Santeria oil. It's an oil
Santeria oil
is
at
sold
Botanica.
at like I've seen them at other like general witch shops
you see
too,
them
but
somewhere, yeah. And they've always got little things, and like sometimes it'll be like a protection. Sometimes it'll be wishing harm on people. There's lots of things you can do with these oils.
I actually have a bunch of them almost within arm's reach. If you want me to show one of these, I could.
Yeah,
grab it,
show and tell rules.
Basically, here's the call though. There used to be one that I could find at every single Botanica. It just said protection, and it had a little clip art ninja on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was protection ninja, and that's my dude. And I cannot find him anywhere.
So this is what they look like. I've
lovely
brought
packaging.
Show and tell. They're like,
now is that man tier?
This one's man tier.
Man tier, nice.
So this one says, this is from a place, a production Vendi Plus, but this one's called man tier, and it usually says like alleged oil, and then there's a photo of a helpful photo here. One moment. For example, here we go. I can show you. This is
beautiful.
A photo of two people having sex, and it says, "Quiere me mucho, love me." Liberty Sanctuary oil.
So this is if you want to put some oil in a candle to get somebody to love you very much.
Yeah,
or possibly
something
cry
that I find maybe unethical in a lot of ways.
I mean, it's
how to use magic.
Yeah.
Rose, you got another one for us?
I have many in my house.
I don't know. If
do you
one.
Well, I mean, Rosa, here's the big question. I think it's all in our mind. Do you use these, and what is the success rate? Like, do you feel actually it helps?
You know what's crazy? Tell
your good story.
So I lived above a Botanica here in Brooklyn, New York, for several years, and there was the proprietor, and also she does fortune telling. She does dresses some of the candles herself. Her name is Carmen. She's amazing. She would often sign for my packages because we didn't have a doorman in this building, so I was often in the Botanica, and we would talk. She would always be like, "Oh, you need to use this oil, like burn this candle." And during that time, I was going through a court case, a personal injury court case of all things, and she was like, "Oh, how's your court case going?" We're talking about it. I was like, "Oh, it's this whole horrible thing," and she goes, "Oh, here," and she pulls out a candle, that had that says court case, and has like it's a blue candle with Lady Liberty, like one of these kind of longer pillar candles, which you see in a lot of Santeria and like voodoo kind of practices. And so she's like, here, get this. She was like, do you have like a Todo Mi Favor oil, which I did at the time. It's like a green oil used for luck. She's like, dress it with that, light the candle, you're gonna win your court case. And I was like, okay. I did it for, I think she asked for like 5 days, something like that, whatever it was. And the next, like in a couple months, I actually did win that court case.
Nice.
And so I kept the candle because I hadn't, I burned it for however long. And actually, often you're supposed to burn it all the way down. But I was earlier in my, in like learning about this, and I didn't know to do that. You're often supposed to like go all the way down to the end of the votive. And, it hadn't got there, and a friend of mine was dealing with I think it was like a workplace malfeasance case, something like this, and I was like, oh, I have something for you, and I lit the candle and it exploded.
Whoa.
And so I was like, so I don't know if there's like a specific rate necessarily, but I do feel like it's connected. I have a lot of I have a surprising amount of what people would call spell candles in the house right now, and I definitely use them. Shout out that Botanica that I used to live above actually closed. They're selling the block, unfortunately. But if anyone here is in Brooklyn, where I get a lot of the things that I use now is from Seven Angels Botanica in Bed-Stuy. So if you're looking to support your local Botanica, which I'm always about, great
Sure.
to do. But you'd be surprised. There's a huge there's a huge candle magic community. Both, honestly, depending on how you do candle magic, both in like Wicca and Santeria and some other like witch practices. We have a witch on our show, and she often also uses candles. We got a lot of candles going, is what I'm trying to say over here.
Well, this brings me to my next question. Like, so if I guess the first question would be, it's a two-parter. Do you? It sounds like maybe. Do you both have a magical practice, and if so, what is it? Would you? I mean, maybe it's personal. You don't want to talk about it, but like, I'm very curious about people's, because I know a lot of people will have a magical, like they'll be like, you can call it like this kind of magical practice, but then they'll personalize it and kind of make it their own. Like I feel like with stand-up comedy, there shouldn't be a whole lot of rules to this stuff, perhaps, or maybe there should, because you could do something wrong and that could be problematic. But talk to me about if you have a magical practice, and if so, maybe explain it a little bit. I'd be curious.
Yeah, I guess I can take. Do you want to take this first? Do you want me? You don't care. Okay. I definitely have a little bit of I would call it like a cobbled together practice, partially because I do live in a place which I would say is like mostly either like Santeria or neo-pagan. Brooklyn kind of falls into two sides. You'll definitely see different types of folk magic, especially when we're in the South. We've run into a lot of different practitioners, but
Right.
Sick, actually.
yeah, there's definitely certain, like where I'm coming from, there's kind of like two what I would call magical camps, and I wouldn't call myself technically a practitioner of either of them. I am a big believer in like intentionality when it comes to like both magical and psychic practices. And because of that intentionality, I was raised Jewish, specifically. But, sometimes when people are like, oh, do you think, like, the candle thing work? I'm like, well, when you're raised Jewish, you light candles every week, right?
Right.
Almost all of our, same with Catholics, right? And actually, where we get from a lot of the Santeria tradition kind of comes from that earlier Catholic, or raised alongside Catholic traditions that have to do with candle magic. But I think a lot of things are about intention. So a lot of, like, the spell work that I'm interested, or at least drawn to, is less about like super rigid. It definitely, in some neo-pagan groups, there are like a lot of rules when it comes to magic. I'm not necessarily sure I believe all of it. I'm interested always in like learning more about it, and definitely through this show have like taken on learning more about different magical practices, because there are quite a few of them. But yeah, I would say for my own, it's a lot of intention setting and a lot of like intentional work. I do like outsourcing some of mine. I will talk with another witch about things. I'll do a reading. I'll do a thing. I'll listen to them on what their practice is. But yeah, generally what I see a lot kind of across like what I would say like the magical communities is things like altars, intention setting, a lot of like smells, like different, whether that's like incense, people burn herbs, people shake herbs in water, people spray their house with herbs. I would say like a lot of practices have some kind of overarching similarities, and that's actually what I'm usually the most interested in.
Interesting.
For me, I definitely, I think there's a default answer that I think if you're a paranormal investigator, you're supposed to say, I dabble in chaos magic.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really funny. I've read a couple of books on chaos magic. I don't think that I know enough about it to sort of say that is what I'm doing.
Is sigil magic chaos magic?
Sigil magic is part of chaos magic.
I was thinking Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison's the guy that seems like the dude who made chaos magic, kind of like
Grant Morrison,
right?
Delightful non-binary comic writer, who wrote my absolute favorite Superman story. Superman jockeys back and forth with Guy Gardner as my favorite DC character. All-Star Superman to me is the greatest comic book ever written by non-binary legend Grant Morrison. So big fan over here. I have done some sigil stuff. I think sigils are really fun. I think they're really fun to do. I would say in terms of magical practice, I will always have Suerte Rápida oil. That's like just luck. It's a luck oil that you do with candle magic. I usually have a protection. A lot of what I'll do is I'll light candles for friends. Like if I have a friend who's like looking for a job or like worried about something, I'll light a candle for them.
That's nice.
I would say the main thing that I do in terms of magical practice is I do a lot of tarot just as like grounding for myself and sort of like, you have different decks. So for example, for the show, we use a deck called Carnival at the End of the World. It's a really cool tarot deck that I highly recommend. The creators are great people. They gave us permission to use the deck on the show. Very, very cool.
Right on.
Got a lot of beautiful art in there. That's one of the nice things about it. It also has a handful of cards that are sort of original creations by those creators. They call it the Insubordinate Arcana, and it's other sort of figures. It's really cool. It's a really cool deck. I like it a lot.
It's I would say it's like lightly circus themed.
Yes.
Which is also kind of cool. It has
That's
fun. It has a really cool look to it, which I know is it's all very like hand drawn art.
The book that
circus imagery is kind of, Fortean in itself. It is.
Absolutely. The book that it comes with also, I would say, is sort of a combination of like tarot explaining book and poetry. The sort of each entry is written very poetically. Really cool tarot deck, so we use that for investigations. I have another deck that was a gift by a very dear friend of mine who is much better at tarot than I am. That is sort of my like personal, intrapersonal, like even just stuff with my own brain. Like that is the deck I use for that. Just I'm like asking for grounding and guidance and stuff like that. So I would say tarot is probably my largest like magical practice thing.
And now, Dash, what's maybe one of our favorites?
What's our best deck? Hold on a second. I've actually got that in arm reach. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Sometimes on our own podcast, Steve, I like to make Dash like divine what's happening next as kind of a little psychic joke of like, ooh, have you tried? Would you like to try to guess what this tarot deck is? Like if
Yes. Twin Peaks.
So I'll say this is what it looks like, and you'll see it says Deluxe Tarot Cards Prism Edition, and there's one little piece of branding, and it's under my finger. And if you want to try to divine or take a swing at what the branding is, like who has made this deck?
Oh my lord, because it's so bright and
it's hard.
Who made this deck? I'm gonna say Lady Gaga.
It is the Spirit Halloween. It's
official licensed
the
deck.
licensed Spirit Halloween. Now,
that's great. That's
it looks
great.
Now. You know how we were just saying how beautiful the Carnival at the End of the World is.
This one is quite the opposite.
The opposite. This is kind of the flip side. It looks terrible.
The Yeti is the hermit.
Yeah, it's all
quite bad.
It's so glossy.
I'm gonna show you. Well, this is the Prism edition. I wanted it to be shiny like Pokemon cards. I'm gonna show you two of my favorite ones.
They're all
describe it because this is mostly audio.
Audio, yeah. So it's a sort of shiny holofoil. I would describe the art as if you paid someone on the platform Fiverr to make art for you.
Art.
It's kind of
so most of the cards are what you would call like cryptids.
Kind of spooky Halloween.
Some of them are like Halloween costumes. Some of them are like villains, I would say. It's a little bit of a random accoutrement of like what media these are coming from too.
I've got two favorite cards in this deck. One of them is the Three of Swords. Now, Three of Swords, I think that's a commonly known tarot card. That's like the melodrama card, the betrayal card, the I'm feeling really bad. A lot of times the art is some variation on a heart stabbed with three swords, and it really just shows you like how bad it feels. On this one though, just kind of an alien saying hello.
Ooh.
Yeah, kind of a sweet little alien saying hello.
Alien guy saying hi.
Green gray.
Now my favorite card in this is the Seven of Swords. It's another sort of rough times. That's actually really funny that it's the two
rough times.
My favorite ones. Now this one, each one it'll say like it'll have a picture of a thing and it'll say the description of what's on the card. Now this one says cannibal. And so what I want to show you is that this is a giant holding a man walking through a bunch of sheep. So my question is, who is the cannibal? Because a giant eating a man, that's not cannibalism. Those are two different things. Is it? I think it's this sheep making a crazy face.
A sheep eating a different sheep. And there just happens to be a giant stealing the shepherd.
Right. I can't. Well, I mean, Spirit Hall. What don't they have?
Now, I will say that I was able to purchase this on Spirit's website. I don't know if there's any sort of cultural boycott of Spirit right now because often. So I would say before anyone goes out and purchases this,
I don't know if they still make. I'm also. They made this 2 years ago. I truly believe we might be the only people who have these. I don't think people were buying this.
I feel like they would be big though. Like I really do.
So?
I feel, I mean, you put it by the register next to like the like gum that turns your mouth black or something. Like come on.
Also sells, I want to say, some sort of like divination dice. And so my whole thing is this. Hey, Spirit Halloween, do you want to sponsor a Queer Ghost Hunt?
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah,
I think
it would work. Well,
now, Dash, huge news. They do still sell the Prism Edition Halloween spirit cards.
Yeah.
Fun thing. They sell now. If for some reason we are boycotting Spirit Halloween, which there's also used versions on eBay, so you could even go.
Perfect.
Now, however, they've introduced a new one this year.
Oh.
Called the Enchanted Memento Mori tarot cards, which I think is maybe their take on Oracle cards, actually. Okay. So there's many options here.
Wow. I want to ask y'all this before I forget to ask. With Liminal,
yes,
it is what all sorts of manifestations of high strangeness are subject in these episodes, and not just including the ones you've done, but like in the future, like it's like what's on the table, what's off the table.
For me, anything is on the table in terms of like category of being. I will say, like, just sort of based on like what usually happens when Rosa and I go out, I feel like we don't often get human like entities. I feel like we don't often get like deceased people. For me, at least, I feel like that's much more rare. I feel like a lot of times we're connecting with what feel more like elementals or nature spirits or sort of like older non-human things. But anything's on the table. So in the next episode after our Ray Wise episode that is going to debut, we're engaging with again one specific person, a magic practitioner in the South. That's very exciting for us, and in that I would say we deal with a very specific kind of entity that I can't even say because I think it's kind of spoilers in a way that I think is really fun for people who view the episode. And then, but I do think we can say the episode after that.
The one after that's mermaids.
Absolutely should say it's mermaids.
It's mermaids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we go down to Wilmington, South Carolina, to look for mermaids. North Carolina. So specifically, there's a legend in North Carolina about the Cape Fear mermaid. It's a legend of mermaids that had a very many sightings in a very specific river, and and that river sort of has an outlet into the sea. And so we get out there and we try to engage with sort of the ghosts of like pirates and sailors, to sort of people who would have believed that mermaids were a day-to-day part of their life. And then we try to make contact with the spirit of mermaids at the Cape. And for me, not to spoil too much what the episode is about, but I'll say that as a person who is often told, that my identity is somehow illegitimate or not real, by the same people who try to convince you that there is such a thing as a free market hand, then that's real, and the stock market is real, and all these things, all of these intangible, unseeable things that you're told, well, because they have some sort of effect in the status quo and sort of like heteropatriarchal culture, this thing must exist, so it is real. I think for me it's a very interesting question of what does it even mean to be real? What is what makes something real? Who decides if something is real, and who what does quote unquote reality serve? So we wanted to do an episode on mermaids. I think mermaids are very gay in a way that delights me very much, and that episode felt really special to shoot for me. So I'm really excited for people to be able to see that one. That a really fun topic too. We got to talk to I did like also who we got to talk to. We got to talk to like a local like trans historian professor. We talked to some fun locals that I won't tell too much about, but yeah, we had a good time looking at and for mermaids. Yeah. But I think going forward, I think also is an interesting one of like what's next, I think. And we tend to, in like the research stage, we tend to like look for stories about like something that like might connect to like queer themes, like whether it's like something like a ghost that everyone says is a lesbian, or a you know, something like a mermaid where it's like being in between worlds, and like how does that connect to like being non-binary, or like, you know, bodies. And we look at kind of either things that are explicitly like this, people say this is a queer thing, or ones that we think have queer motifs. And then usually we go, I see this partially as also a travel show of the South. You go down there to like look for it. And I don't know if we always connect with the thing we're looking for, or even like get close to the thing we're looking for, but we always kind of, I think,
we usually connect with something.
Connect with something. And I also will say, like, we do some good, like, during the daytimes, we'll go to like local businesses or talk with local people who have like stories or like connections to that thing. So even if we're not able to like connect with it like at night, you know, in the waters, you know, for mermaids, or in not waters for other things.
So for example, I would sorry, go ahead, Rosa.
I was just gonna say, I think we often find like the story first, and then when the investigation finds something else. But there's kind of a funness to that.
That's I think that's good documentary filmmaking too. Like where, like, I mean, most documentaries, they have a set plan, because you need to have a set plan in order to get financing, and you have to have some kind of game plan. However, like, the good documentaries are following the interesting side stories, and the side stories are often more exciting. Like, here's a good example, and this is here. I mean, I'm not saying I'm trying to pitch you an episode idea, but one of the most famous UFO, you know, encounters of the 70s is the Pascagoula, Mississippi, on the Pascagoula River, where it's a great case of abduction. And I mean, it's an amazing case, very famous case for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. And
in that same river, there is mermaid folklore.
Okay.
Yeah, where mermaids appear in columns of water. So, like, you know, oh God, very interesting. I like this. But, like, I mean, like, I guess, but a lot of people, I feel like if you were going to do like a piece about the Pascagoula, you know, UFO encounter, while that's a very famous one, like, if you were to dig a little deep, you would find out in this little town of Pascagoula, there is a lot of other weird stuff that might be just as interesting.
Well, so, and I think about this a lot too, in terms of, like, you know, we don't have this episode scheduled out. We don't have anything planned out. But personally, things like stuff that I want to investigate. You know, obviously, I love Mothman. Who doesn't? Big fan of Mothman. But I think about West Virginia's maybe second cryptid, the Flatwoods Monster, which I find really fascinating in that it is one of the only cryptids that is consistently gendered female, no matter what, as opposed to even like, you know, you look at the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot, like that Bigfoot has
it's a female.
Breasts. It's a female, but Bigfoot is still consistently gendered male. And so when you're thinking about like how we conceive of these cryptids and what makes them interesting.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I have such a gripe with that, because well, Patterson-Gimlin is without a doubt the most famous Bigfoot event footage. I actually did a Bigfoot lecture at a Bigfoot conference, which was interesting. Experience. Half the people there wanted to murder me, I'll be honest. But I opened my whole thing up with kind of like a joke about, like, why on every show, Bigfoot show, or, you know, like, you always hear, like, he's out there. I'm like, why are we calling it a he with such a blanket thing, where when it's even agreed upon,
the main one we've seen
is a female? I mean, like, it drives me insane, actually. Like,
my thing with Bigfoot that I find really funny about the Bigfoot shows is that they're always like, we have great ape sex pheromones, and Bigfoot is a great ape, and so Bigfoot's gonna love this. And then they open it and they smell it and they're like, oh, this is terrible. Here's the thing, I don't know if you knew this, we are also great apes.
Yeah.
Human beings are great apes. So this idea that this is great ape sex pheromone, Bigfoot's gonna love it. Us, it sucks. This is terrible to smell. You're Bigfoot. Why do you assume? Also, if Bigfoot is a great ape, to me, you know, I think that for me personally, and I think you are much more the Bigfoot expert than me.
I'm not an expert at all.
For me, I think Bigfoot has to be magic for me. I think if there's Bigfoot, it has to be magic in some way, because otherwise I just don't
It
I
seems,
think it has to be magic.
We often
it
make
seems
fun
hard
of,
that we haven't found one. Yeah.
and not on the show, because we believe each person has a different practice. But I think something personally me and Dash make fun of often is people physical Bigfooters, just the people who are like, all cryptids are physical animals, and
Yep.
I'm gonna be able to catch it in a big
I'm gonna
net.
shoot them with my gun.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It will
okay.
never happen. It will
Now,
never happen.
I will say this, and I will definitely be hitting you up before as we're doing the prep for this, and even if you want to show up on the episode now, we are gonna do an episode eventually on Rosa's favorite cryptid,
Swamp ape.
Swamp ape.
Swamp
Oh,
ape.
yeah, the Florida swamp ape.
Yeah, I
sure.
love Swamp ape. I love that his thing is he's too stinky.
Yeah, the skunk ape, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that he lives in the Everglades. I think I am such a fan of Swamp Ape, and so I've been hot pitching the Swamp Ape episode for a while.
It's gonna happen.
And
It's
here's the
gonna
thing:
happen for sure.
is Swamp Ape gay? I don't know. I have to find out.
That's what the episode has to find out.
And we don't. Not every episode. We're doing a ghost. We're doing a paranormal show because we have a lot of things to say socially, and also to have fun with our friends. And if
Sure.
Swamp Ape ends up being a little bit more about having fun with our friends, I'll say this also. I think here's my theory, and this is just me trusting in the phenomenon, trusting in the stuff that's gonna happen. I think we're gonna walk into the Swamp Ape episode being like, "Oh, this is just gonna be the silly episode about Swamp Ape, whatever." I think that one's gonna be the most hardest hitting. I think that's gonna be the hard-hitting thematic episode.
Yeah.
That's my.
Because I've been pitching it as like, oh, like, wow, Florida says you can't say gay. I guess you also can't say swamp ape. And thematically, it doesn't make a ton of sense. But I actually think the swamp ape episode is going to be powerful.
Well,
I'm not even kidding. I think it is.
For some reason, I always find it the most like physically like disturbing of the Bigfoot regional Bigfoot variances, because it's like tall and wiry. It's not like, for some reason it's kind of like spindly, like spidery. Where and look, it's supposed to stink to high heaven. So
Dash, I didn't even tell you this, but I had like a mini synchronicity because I was 2 weeks ago. I was in Reno visiting family, and this isn't really a synchronicity because it's like a very light one. At the time I was like, oh, we have to start this was right after we got the TUBI news, and we had kind of been like leading up the last like week or so before that, being like, oh, we're gonna have to go and tell people we're on TUBI. We're gonna have to like start doing like a little bit more
promo
and stuff. Just like tell people we're gonna start posting again. Like kind of thinking about promo a little bit for the kind of TUBI rollout announcement. And I was staying at the Atlantis Hotel in Reno, Nevada. I was flipping through the like 7 cable channels they have, and on the History Channel there was a deep dive into Bigfoot, and obviously that's like not a super synchronicity because I think the History Channel is always talking about Bigfoot, but I flipped onto it and they were like the minute I started watching, it was like, and some people think Bigfoot's connected to the skunk ape, and I was like,
yeah. Skunk ape,
Flatwoods monster. I imagine this first, what I'm conceiving of a first season of the show is really focused in on the South, and then from there, like if we want in a season 2, I would love to take a look at the Fresno night crawlers. I love them very much.
Sure.
I live somewhat close to the Bridgewater Triangle, which is a lot of UFO stuff, a lot of cool stuff out there.
So UFOs are on the menu.
Everything's on the menu.
Everything's on the menu.
Also, everything is on the menu that indigenous culture has not explicitly been like, please don't do this.
Please don't talk about this.
On those ones, not on the menu.
That's not for us.
How much of Utah Robert Graves buys?
Good Robert Graves callback. 2 points.
I don't know if I'm ever allowed to go to Utah again. That was a scary phone call. That was a scary thing. It feels like a little bit of a trap. It feels like a little bit of a trap. I feel like Utah feels loaded for me at this point. I just I don't know. I don't feel. Yeah,
I was like, oh, should we do something in Utah? And Dash was like, a trap. No.
I don't think so. I don't think
the synchronicity is pointing to Utah. Like maybe we should look at Utah.
Yeah, we'll think.
Well, it is. I will say, like, while there are some I mean, every state has their problems, but like it is, in terms of geographical beauty, it is almost hard to beat Utah. It is
It's very
unthinkably gorgeous. Like, so I wouldn't. I would say keep open-minded about Utah.
Well, you know,
it's more just about. I think that if a scary phone call is like, "Hey, you know this name that's been haunting you for 10 years? Let me give you the scariest version of it on multiple levels." That's the one for me. I'm like.
Now this is an interesting mini synchronicity though. Okay. Your Robert Graves is in Utah. A fun fact about my family is part of us are former LDS. And I didn't know that part of my family was former LDS until one time I called my mom and she was in Salt Lake City and she was like, "I'm visiting the Graves." And I was like, oh. I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Oh, you know, because we have a bunch of family buried in Salt Lake City, you know, the Graves." And so I was like, "Oh, so well, in that case,
we both kind
of have a Utah Graves, if you will."
Utah Graves. That is kind of fun. All right,
I think that means you need to go. Y'all need to go. That's what I'm thinking.
Baby. We'll let that be the Liminal season 1 season finale.
Well, where else in terms of the South would be kind of like dream places you definitely want to highlight?
I want to go to New Orleans so bad. I want to go to New Orleans so bad, and I'm gonna be so real. I'm gonna be so 100% real with you, my friend, and with the listeners at home. I've never had a legit etouffee. I've never had a legit crawfish etouffee. I want it so bad, and I'm not saying that that's the reason I want to go to New Orleans. But I'm not saying that.
The food is it lives up to the hype. I will
do
say
some of the historical research, and I did find we did find some kind of cool stuff.
That one I want to save the specific one. I'll tell you off the pod, Steve.
We'll tell you off the pod about what we want to do. What we want to do, but there's a high probability if our director agrees and some of the like final research comes together that there's a high probability we're gonna end up in New Orleans pretty soon on the show.
I really want to go to New Orleans. I would love to spend some time in Texas.
Is there something specific in Texas you want to investigate?
There is a legend of I think he's called the Goat Man that I find really, really interesting in Texas. But I also I'm very open. You know, I've got some of these like bigger goals, these goal sort of places, but I'm open to, you know, finding something that feels like, oh, this feels like more like what we should be doing here. I would love to spend some time. I would love to find somewhere. I think that a lot of people, you know, in terms of like liminal and marginalized identities, I think sex workers get marginalized a lot. I would really love to spend some time at a brothel and do it in a way that doesn't feel gross. I feel like every investigation I've seen at a brothel has made me feel weird and bad. Every time I've seen it, I would love to do it not that way. There's a really cool project. Rosa, what's the name of that project that's like all the lesbian bars?
Oh God, what are they called? It's I can find their actual thing, but it is it's a project that is saying where like all the remaining lesbian bars are across the country.
I would love to find either a closed lesbian bar or an existing one that sort of feels like it is haunted or feels like something has had things happening at it. Queer bars in general, I think that there's a lot there.
It's just called the Lesbian Bar Project. I should have called that one in the air.
I could have figured that one out just on the context of it.
Yeah, there are 38 lesbian bars left in America, in the continental United States, and so these are. This is a project that has the kind of history behind those bars and kind of supporting local, like, lesbian spaces. So totally cool to check out if that's something you're into.
I
would love to find somewhere with like vampire lore. I find vampire lore really fascinating. I would love to get into some of the dogman and werewolf stuff. I think that
plenty of that down south. Kentucky. Central Kentucky, that's your place right there.
I think as we're thinking about sort of like liminality and shape shifting and a lot of that stuff, I think there's a lot there. But, you know, in terms of the broader question of like what's on the table of where we want to go, you know, I'm so I'm so open, and I think if
Mhm.
anyone, if anyone wants to, we got like info@liminaltv.com. If anyone has any tips, if anyone has a thing that they're like, you got to check out this story.
Yeah,
Here's
absolutely.
a queer ghost story from my hometown. Here's a cryptid that touches on some like interesting themes of liminality. Like, hit us up. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of destinations. If you ask me right now, I could show you a 10 episode plan for this first season. But all of that, if you hit me with something that you're like, this really fits the show, like, hell yeah, let's look into it. We'll do some research at the very least, and if not on this season, then season 2. Like we have all of these places we want to go, because when you get down to it, queerness and magic are so deeply connected. One of the things that I don't like to do, I don't like to be like, oh, look at this culture, that's not my culture, and they had non-binary identities, whatever. So I try not to do that, but I can talk about my own culture. So I'm mixed race Korean. That is another sort of liminal identity of mine, as being being mixed. And I didn't even know this until like the last year. I was researching for, I forget what I was researching for, but the earliest magical practice in Korea is the practice of Mu, and it's sort of like it's a shamanistic practice. It's pre-Buddhism. I think it's pre-Taoism. It's one of our earliest magical practices. And to be a mudang, or a practitioner, you had to be selected as a child. You had to go through a spirit sickness, and then a mudang would find you and like initiate you. So it's a closed practice. It's very much like you have to be initiated by another shaman, and it is a female role. There's only women were mudang. Only women were the practitioner of this. But there was also something called a baksu mudang, which was a person who was born and assigned male at birth, who, for the practice of mudang, would put on the vestments of the female shaman, and for that time when they were doing magic, operated functionally as female. And so you have this another sort of this really interesting idea of like gender and what it means to occupy a role and to perform gender and to perform a role for the purposes of magical practice. There is not, I think Pauline Park is the name of the person who I was reading Pauline's work on this. So please, if you're curious more, Pauline Park is the person to Google. I believe there isn't enough historical evidence to tell whether Baksu Mudang lived as female for their entire lives or just during the magical practice. But regardless, like this is a female role being performed and sort of practiced by people who were assigned male. And so even in my own culture, even in Korean culture, this is a moment of like an interesting way to do gender in terms of magic, an interesting way to think about gender and practice. And so like to me it's from the dawn of time, right? I think that liminal identities, I think queerness, I think it is connected to magic. I think it's connected to the strange. So we're, with regard to what that opens up for the show, I think it opens up a lot of stuff.
It sure does, yeah.
We can dream big, and I certainly am. But I'd love to go overseas. I would love to check out some castles in the UK. I would love to check out some Korean folk magic stuff.
Right.
I want to go everywhere with this thing, and I think that no matter where we go, we're gonna find something that sort of gets into and supports what we're trying to do. So what's on the table? Again, everything. Except for the stuff that indigenous people specifically said, please don't do this.
Right. We yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Well,
everything's on the table except when we've been explicitly told not to.
Right, and then you just say, okay, you got it, no problem.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, it's like when I do my like weird Nebraska lecture, like there are some indigenous, investigations and very interesting things, but I don't talk about that. I mentioned that it's like you can look into that yourself.
Absolutely.
Like I go, that's that's not for me to talk about.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
but Rosa and Dash, this has been so fun, and folks, I really can't recommend this show Liminal enough. It really is so unique and so entertaining. Like it's just, there's great chemistry in the show, and it's fun and funny, and you don't take yourself too seriously, which is kind of one of my bigger gripes, I suppose, with a lot of these shows, is that like, there is like this like kind of trust me, bro, like I'm gonna tell you the truth about demons. I'm like, no, you're not. You never. No one ever will. That's impossible.
Are you sure? How rock and roll is their priest?
Well, that I mean,
how many pockets you got on them cargo shorts? because I think that's the
good point.
So
I should rephrase, but yeah.
As of the recording of this, we are still. So we were told early September is when we're debuting on Tubi.
Great.
We're still not. I've been looking every day. It's not on there just yet. People can find the show on YouTube currently. YouTube.com/@TeamLiminal. And I'm told it will be on Tubi very soon. There's a show on Tubi. There's a movie on Tubi called Liminal Girl. That's not us. I did make the really good joke that they only put up Rosa's half of the show.
That's very, I'm the Liminal Girl.
That one's very funny to me. But so as of the recording this, it has not been processed through the system just yet. I know they have a lot of checks and stuff, but we're told that everything looks good and it should be up pretty soon. So we're just waiting for the final word on that. But it is currently viewable on YouTube. We have
congratulations.
Liminaltv.com is the website with the information. We also have some sick Liminal swag. We got shirts and stickers and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that's where people can. I just launched into the where can they find us. I felt like you were wrapping it up, and I was like, I'm gonna get it.
Well, yeah, we are wrapping it up. No, but that's great. And is there anything else you want to plug? Like in terms of, I will have all these links in the show notes, by the way, so you will be able to click on that and watch your little heart out.
I think
folks.
that the in terms of social media that I'm most active on, probably Instagram is the best place to get your immediate Liminal updates. I think it's just /Liminal TV. Rosa and I are both, we have personal Instagrams as well. But the Liminal Instagram probably is the place where I'm putting most of it.
We have a website too.
Yes.
It's definitely not our most kept up part, but it does have links to everything, and links do go live there. So, and that is liminaltv.com. So if you also are trying to stay off of Meta, as so many people are, you can also find us at a good old-fashioned website.
Liminaltv.com, also where the web store is. If you do want a slick Liminal t-shirt or some stickers, we have a sticker that is sort of a little preview of episode 5. That is just a fun thing that Rosa said about. Rosa, do you want to say your fun thing that is a sticker now?
I feel like they should look it up.
Okay. Oh wow.
I think they should look it up. I won't say it. I think it'll drive people to the site.
Making them
drive
work
people to the
for it.
store.
All right.
That's driving people to the store. Wow. That's good business right there. That's business 101, Rosa.
I didn't even think about that. This why I'm not in charge. I gotta say, as an independent creator, there's so many things that you gotta do that I simply hate to do.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Marketing, promo, all of those things. Yeah. I just if there's if your passion project is doing marketing for queer television shows,
reach out.
We would love.
Reach out.
Have someone who would do that.
Yeah. Well, you never know. You heard it here, folks. You know where to find them. Help them out with their marketing, because let me tell you, people on camera and behind the camera do not like to do. I hate it. It's a nightmare.
It sucks so bad.
I feel like, no one wants to hear this from me. Yeah, no, it's but it's 90% of being a creative is promoting yourself. It's a nightmare. Anyways, you both have been so lovely. This has been so fun to catch up with you, and I am such a fan of the show. I love it. I'm so excited for. Also, it's great that it's on Tubi. Like, Tubi is wonderful, and it's just it'll be so easy to find it.
Tubi got that shit.
Tubi got that shit. It does. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of High Strange. Dash and Rosa, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Truly. Folks, thanks for listening to another episode, and enjoy your dinner tonight. Peace. Bye, everyone. Goodbye. Farewell.